Trump snapped last night. He snapped on social media by calling out Marjorie Taylor Greene as a lunatic, by saying he will run someone against her in the Republican primary next year. So you have this serious possibility that even as Trump tries to divert, including with the attack on the BBC, that he cannot stop the news cycle for the next few weeks being about Esptein, and that may alienate some of his supporters upon whom he has depended for years.
Well, that was Donald Trump on Air Force One saying that he's going to sue the BBC next week, anywhere between $1 billion and $5 billion. And this is after the corporation has already apologised to Donald Trump for a misleading edit of his speech in January 6, 2021. Let's speak now to Scott Lucas, Professor of International Politics at the Clinton Institute, University College Dublin. Scott, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me here, Alexis.
Trump has form, Scott, of taking media corporations to court and actually getting something out of them. Perhaps it's not that big figure that he touts, but he does get them to concede, and sometimes financially too. So can we expect the same to happen to the BBC?
Well, let's work through this, Alexis, and that is that Donald Trump certainly does, as a businessman, let alone as a politician, threaten litigation almost on a daily basis, and often with astronomical figures. He succeeded in some cases in getting a bit of that from ABC, from CBS. In the case of CBS, because it wanted to get approval for a merger, and it feared that if it didn't settle with Trump, that would be blocked. He has failed on other cases. So his threat of $10 billion from the Wall Street Journal this summer over his drawing for Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book, that has foundered. But the money's not the point here, Alexis. And indeed, the money is not the point here with the BBC. What is the key story here? First is that Trump is trying to intimidate the BBC and indeed to tear it down. But secondly, Trump is not on his own. This is a collective effort which has gone on for some time, even before that clumsy edit in the Panorama program between Trump, between the UK Reform Party, whose leader is a former Trump employee, and the outlet of the UK Reform Party, which is a national broadcaster in the UK. This is a concerted effort to delegitimize the BBC, to clear space so that you get mainly Trump's lines or the Reform Party lines at the top of the news cycle.
I mean, Trump did appear on GB News yesterday in an exclusive interview. Scott, other people have been pointing out that actually perhaps this has got nothing to do with what we've just mentioned and all to do with the Epstein files. Donald Trump's coming under increased pressure to release the full files. And also notable, it has to be said, he seems to have fallen out with one of his most staunch supporters, and that's Marjorie Taylor Greene. What's happened?
Well, I think you have the ongoing story of the Epstein files that keeps coming back. And what has happened in the past week is that despite the Trump and the Justice Department refusing to release what are the Epstein case files, this is 100,000 pages of documents related to the prosecutions of Jeffrey Epstein. They were unable to prevent the Epstein estate from releasing Epstein's emails to the House Oversight Committee, this legislative body. Now, the Democrats released, in particular, 3 emails that implicate Trump. Not that he is complicit in Jeffrey Epstein's pedophilia, but that he knew more about Epstein's activities than he has let on. Those emails place Trump in the apartment of Jeffrey Epstein alongside at least one of the victims. In this case, that victim has been named in other outlets as Virginia Giuffre. Trump also is in a kind of tricky position where Epstein and the Trump biographer Michael Wolff, who were friends, talk about the fact that they have incriminating information on Trump that they could use as leverage against him. Now, that did not come out, I have to hasten to add. But there is this, it's inconvenient for Trump. So what do you do at this case? You try to divert and say, oh, it's only the Democrats who are named in the files. But the problem for Trump here is that alongside the release of these files, that the way is now clear for the House, the lower chamber of Congress, to vote on the release of the Epstein case files, those files that are being stonewalled by Trump and the Justice Department. That's because 4 Republicans joined the Democrats signing a discharge petition demanding the vote. One of those 4 Republicans was Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was a devout Trumpist at one point. Indeed, 2 of the other signatories, Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace, are devout Trumpists, but they have said, we want the truth to come out about Epstein. What's the problem for Trump here? A lot of his supporters want those files to come out. And so Trump snapped last night. He snapped on social media by calling out Marjorie Taylor Greene as a lunatic, by saying he will run someone against her in the Republican primary next year. So you have this serious possibility that even as Trump tries to divert, including with the attack on the BBC, that he cannot stop the news cycle for the next few weeks being about Epstein, and that may alienate some of his supporters upon whom he has depended for years.
And is this release, can it be stopped by Trump of these the case files, I beg your pardon? Can this be stopped? Because I have heard that the signatures, once they're on the document, they can't be withdrawn. So is there anything Trump can do to stop this release?
Well, I mean, first of all, the White House tried desperately this week not even to get this discharge petition. They actually pulled in Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert and lobbied them for hours in the White House, in the Situation Room. But they went ahead and signed the petition. Now, there's still a long way to go. The House is likely to vote next week for the release of the case files, but then that has to go to the Senate. So we have to see whether Republicans will turn against Trump there to provide a majority for this to pass. But then Trump can veto that legislation. And to override the veto, you need 2/3 of the members of the House and the Senate. So Trump, I think, can prevent the actual release of the case files. But the problem for Trump here is that as we go through that process, which could take months from the House to the Senate to his veto back to Congress, it keeps the Epstein story at the top of the news cycle. Trump is not able to bury it. And that, I think, will continue to erode his standing, including, as I mentioned, with some of those who have supported him come hell or high water up to this point.
Scott, thank you. Always good to speak. Thank you for your time. Scott Lucas there, Professor of International Politics at the Clinton Institute, University College Dublin.
Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. And this email you refer to with the name of a victim that was unredacted now and has since been reported on in this room, so I will go ahead and say it, Virginia Giuffre. And it was CBS's own reporting, Ouija, that recently wrote that Miss Giuffre maintained, and God rest her soul, that she maintained that there was nothing inappropriate she ever witnessed, that President Trump was always extremely professional and friendly to her. And so I think it's a question worth asking the Democrat Party, and you should all go ask them after this briefing, of why they chose to redact that name of a victim who has already publicly made statements about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and is unfortunately no longer with us.